morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kyungjae, this is Vidu, and this is Stella. We are Team Rio. Now, before I discuss our business idea, I would like to quickly talk about inspirations of ideas. Good ideas come from simple observations, change of view, or even words of others. Here's a quick example. Think about Isaac Newton observing an apple falling from a tree. Now, here's a quote that inspired our business idea. Jean-Paul Sartre, a famous philosopher of the 20th century, once said, "Existence precedes essence." Now, this might seem to you like one of those mind-boggling jibber-jabbers of philosophy, but actually this quote is quite straightforward. What it's basically saying is that we live without knowing why we do, that we exist before we know the essence of life. Now, I think that this quote represents the mind of the modern society very well. It's hollowness. And addressing this problem, we came up with an idea of a parrot robot with talkative tongues and fluffy feathers to comfort you. Oh, it's basically a parrot robot with AI. Now, I think you're thinking right now, so how do we go from a philosopher's quote to a fluffy doll-like parrot robot? Well, I reckon that was a dramatic jump. And if you want to know why, stay tuned as I'm taking you through our thought process. Okay, so the way I see the quote of Sartre is that it's primarily related to a sentiment called loneliness. The quote implies that we don't have a set meaning in life. Therefore, we should try to build our own meaning through choices. There are different ways of doing that, but many people try to do it through relationships. We learn about others, and along the way, we get to learn about ourselves and what we're actually meant to be. But relationships aren't always that successful, is it? Sometimes you are left with no one to talk with. Sometimes you're surrounded by tons of people, but you still feel that there's a missing piece in your heart. As such, our team saw that loneliness is a widespread social phenomenon of 21st century, and the Korean society on which we'll be basing our market on, at first, is not an exclusion. Look at the survey data. 7 out of 10 Koreans replied that they're currently feeling lonely. Look at the number of Koreans who live alone. Surely, there are a lot of lonely people in this society. But you may ask yourself, why is feeling lonely so bad? Isn't it a natural event in your life? Like, doesn't it happen to everyone? Yeah, it's not bad, but chronic loneliness can lead to unfavorable results such as health hazards and internet addiction. So you're already sure that you're lonely, but it gets even worse. Now that we've talked about the disease, it's time for us to talk about the remedies. What are some ways we can overcome loneliness? And that's where our product comes from, by the way. Now, I'm sure you've tried a lot of ways, but the solution our team settled on was getting a pet. Now, pets are popular and proven remedy for fighting loneliness. Not only does it go along with our common sense, a lot of research shows that having a pet made a significant improvement on loneliness in people who live alone. Now, we should also consider that pets are very popular and there's massive demand for it. Data shows that more and more Koreans want to have their own pets. The market has grown from this to this. And so, now you know that our team is focusing on the familiarity and plausibility of the pet remedy to loneliness. Now, let me do a quick hand count. How many of you have actually raised a pet in your life? Oh yeah, actually more than I expected. Now, if you have raised a pet in your life, you should be familiar with the difficulties that comes with it. Now, personally, I owned a cat, but I had to send him off to another owner because my father had an allergy to cat fur. Other problems that might arise with having a pet are limited space, your apartment might be too small, nurturing costs, you have to feed it, you have to groom it, long working hours. If you are outside most of the day, your pet will be lonely and you'll feel bad about yourself. Now, the pet remedy, the pet solution comes with its own limitations. And what we try to do is that we try to fix it by building a pet less needy, more affordable, and just as adorable. And that's how Rio came into being. It's an artificial pet, so it does not need the care and money that a real-life pet would need. But we try to make it as good a companion as it would be, as what a normal pet would be. Now, just how we did that, the way we made it real, our next presenter, Vidu, will talk about in slides.
Okay, let me introduce three great features our Rio has. It can talk as a companion and it interact with you, and also you can train and play with Rio. These three features makes the Rio is the best companion robot you ever had. Okay, what do I mean by talk like a companion? So you can have collegial conversation with Rio. It's daily conversation. You can ask any question and it can answer you anything. For example, let's say you had really bad day. So and then you go home, you meet Rio and you talk like you share your feelings with Rio. So it has a capability that can answer your questions and give some feedbacks and make you feel better. So at the end of the day, it puts you a smile on your face. And not only that, Rio is it has a lot of knowledge that it can predict weather. So let's say like you have to go outside for a picnic, so you go to Rio and ask about like how is the weather looks like, weather in Seoul or something like that, like in a particular place. So it says like it's gonna rain today, you better bring an umbrella or something. So like our main purpose of Rio is make you entertain. So it has ability of making jokes and singing songs, some things like that. So we make Rio with technology using artificial intelligence that makes you more interact with your Rio. So the next great feature is interacting with you. So we implement Rio with a built-in camera and sensors. So when you get close to Rio, so it can recognize you as the person. So it can recognize your facial expression and also your hand gestures. According to that, it can flap its wings or like nodding the head, or it can make various parrot-like sounds. So it makes you feel like you're really having a pet, not a robot. And the last and the best feature is that you can actually train your Rio as a real life real pet. So it can recognize you and also remember you, and also it can imitate as a real parrot. It can imitate your voice as a real parrot. So for implementing this one, we use the latest deep learning algorithms to learn the parrot how to react with the people. So next, Stella will explain how we're gonna develop our Rio in future.
So now you know how we came up with the idea of Rio and how it works, but you wonder, how much is it? Well, before going into that, I'm gonna talk to you about our competitors and how we are better than our competitors. Our competitors are Google Home and Amazon Echo. Well, they both look similar, right? And they also function similarly. They tell you the news, they talk to you, and what else? And they tell you the news. They work similarly to our Rio, right? But look at their design. They don't give off that friendly feeling, and they're not, sorry. Can you, yeah. And they're not cute, they're not fluffy, so I bet they cannot cure your loneliness. Maybe that's why they have such a low price, which are 129.99 and 17.99. Our other competitor is called Paro Robotic Seal, which is priced at $5,000. Very expensive, right? Well, what is this robot? This robot is actually a therapeutic robot for elders. So they look fluffy, they look cute. So I think they can cure the loneliness, but they actually cannot talk to you. They just make sounds. So they cannot be your friend, right? Okay, so now you're thinking, how much exactly is Rio? Rio is for $199. Pretty cheap, right? For something that has this much function. And we also come with different colors, red, green, and orange. Seems interesting, right? And they look friendly, and they look cute and fluffy. Okay, now currently we are actually approaching Blue Sky Studio, which is the creator of Rio movie. We are trying to collaborate with them to make animation for our promotional video. And in the future, we are planning to make different varieties of Rio. The first one is those dedicated for elders. And maybe this Rio can replace this dog because this dog can be troublesome to take care of, right? Well, our Rio will have functions such as reminding elders to eat their medicines, and they can make emergency calls to those taking care of Rio. And then besides this one, we also plan to make Rio dedicated for kids. This Rio is gonna be an educational tool for kids because they can tell stories, they can teach new words, and they can also be like a small encyclopedia. So, we also plan for you to be able to personalize your Rio. You can pick the gender of your Rio, and then you can pick the personality of your Rio, be it a talkative Rio or a quiet Rio. And then you can also put in special memory in your Rio's mind. Maybe you can put in your childhood memory so that Rio can always remind you how awesome your childhood was. And then lastly, you can also pick the language that your Rio speaks in so that you can talk comfortably with your Rio. Well, we vision our Rio to be a combination of warmth and technology, so we hope Rio can be everyone's friend. Is there anything more you want to know about our Rio?
I think it's a really great idea because I think, and there are a lot of robots that are used for these kind of purposes. I was just wondering, you talked about how it would flap its wings and how it would like make all these sounds. That I'm assuming that means it has a battery, right?
It should have a battery and like it has a motors to control that.
So, I mean, so how are you going to charge it?
How are we going to charge it?
Yes.
Actually, it can flap, but it cannot move. Right?
So
it flaps, but it cannot move. Like you can have to put it on the charger.
So you can't grab it and hug it.
So it's not that big. It's a small power.
So you have to hug the charger too.
No. you know how wireless charging works, right? They something that has like you have to put in the platform and then it's charged by itself. When you take it out, it has a battery, right? It's also working, but like you have to put it in the tap and charge it. Like that. So it's the
Obviously, Amazon and Google are technology giants, right? And even their AIs are like slightly limited. Like Alexa probably is the leader at the moment. Assistant is pretty good. Bixby is a bit rubbish. How do you propose to come up with a software that can even compete with the big leaders?
Actually, Hossan Electronics called in Hong Kong. They implement robot called the Professor Einstein, and then the other one is they implement a robot that actually can have a real life conversation. So actually the level of the deep learning and the AI algorithm is there, but the thing is in Google Home and Echo, their main purpose is for Google Home is for knowledge base. You ask questions and it searches from the internet and then you answer. But in the Echo, it's mostly business based. You order stuff from the Echo, like from that platform. But in our main purpose is not like that. We want to have real life conversation. There are robots actually built to have like real life conversation. And like mostly in 2070 they implement that robot. I forgot his name. Yes.
I was very like impressed because I felt really lonely these days. But I'm wondering that how did you like decided your price? Because I think it is too cheap, like two technological things and also the design things, but it is like too cheap. I think it is too cheap because like Google Home and that things are also really technical things. But how did you like decided your price? Like just like.
So, to be honest, we didn't have like a set criteria for setting a price, but we thought so we should be, of course, be cheaper than Powerroll, which was obviously overpriced, and since we have more features than Google Home or Amazon Echo, it's natural for us to have a higher price. So let me ask you, how much are you willing to pay for this?
It differs when I'm consumer and when I'm investor. Like investor wants high price, but when I'm consumer, I want like lower price.
As a consumer.
Because we believe we're gonna get higher sales and we can get higher profit, so we put it in at a low price, and we believe that this price can enter the market easily.
So, why did you decide to make it Parrot?
So first we thought about a dog or a cat, but we thought since it has the speaking, like talking abilities, people are more familiar with the parrot speaking rather than dog or cat speaking. So we decided parrot was better.
Oh, and the reason behind people getting pets are because they're alive, right? But don't you think that people are going to find it kind of like awkward to get IAs to deal with their loneliness? Because like AIs are like at the end of the day they're like not actually alive. So to deal with your loneliness, you need something alive.
Well,
Right.
actually we have a study that there was a study called the Animal Assisted Therapy in Loneliness Nursing Homes using robotic versus living dogs. And although robotic dogs showed a little less effect on improving loneliness of people living in nursing homes, it showed that significant improvements were also made by robotic dogs, which means it actually can help you be less lonely.
Do you think that, like, is it mainly for old people then, or for children? Like that study was with old people, and whenever you see this kind of thing like Paro and stuff, you see like really old people, like maybe who haven't quite got all their faculties, are quite comforted by artificial intelligence. But would people like in this room be comforted by an artificial intelligence, or would we feel differently to old people or children?
I have two possible answers for that. First of all, there were studies telling that people who live alone, for people who live alone, having pets would actually have made more significant effects to loneliness. And we made an assumption that although there are not studies yet proving that robotic pets can help people in general, not only old people, but people living alone might be more affected by, can be more affected because studies show that they are more sensitive to aid by pets. And second of all, our AI is a bit special because it is not only knowledge based, but it is imperfect. By that we mean it does not know everything from the beginning, and it gets to know you, it gets to know more about the world, and it will have a personality, like not very specific like a person would have, but like a vague personality, talkative, cheerful, quiet, calm. And I think that makes it more of a friend, a companion, and not just a robot talking to you, not Siri or anything like that.
You say that Rio can tell you how awesome your childhood was, and I wonder how it works. Like you are talking and they record it and replay it, like or they can interpret your childhood with their intelligence.
So we plan to ask you what your special memory is before you buy it, so we can actually program it and put it inside the Rio's mind.
Thank you.
So like when you make the order, there might be a form to fill in, and you can like give it as many details as you want to give it, or you could program them in later or whatever.
I feel like I'm being too technical because it's just. I was also just wondering because you know there's this thing called the creepy value or something, where once you get past a certain point of being close to a human, then it actually becomes really creepy that it get until the point where it is actually 100% human. People actually feel a big like a creep. They feel that the robots are very creepy if they're very similar to human. You can see this in like things like Terminator and things like a lot of different movies deal with this topic. I was just wondering if even with the like AIs we have today, a lot of people feel this way. But if we implement this for an animal-based AI, because we don't actually know animals as well as we do humans, then wouldn't people feel this kind of how should I say, this lack of connection with something that seems not really alive but imitates it and might fall in this creepiness value thing? Sorry, I'm just. It's just
I mean, I think it's a valid point, and we were thinking about it.
Yeah. Actually, you can train, because like people to people is different, right?
yes.
You might be afraid of the technology, but someone else like it's not, right? It's different people to people, right? The way they interact. Actually, now the AI, they can actually learn by the person to person. You can actually personalize. If a particular person he likes he interact more, like then the robot knows that this person wants to interact more, like you will be like get closer more. But like when someone is like avoiding, it's also learning from okay, this person doesn't like to interact, he's afraid of the technology, something like that. Now the AI they actually that can implement.
Any other questions? Okay.
It's actually